A prairie dog cautiously peeks out from its little hill and almost gets run over by a group of reckless young drivers. The youngsters daringly challenge Franklin and Roosevelt, two soldiers in the lead vehicle of a U.S. Army convoy, to a race. The race begins, but after a short time, the Army vehicle, along with the trucks and cars trailing behind it, takes a sharp turn to the right and pulls up to a gate. Russians, posing as U.S. Army officials, ambush and shoot the American soldiers guarding the entrance to Hangar 51. Indiana Jones and George McHale are pulled from the trunk of a car and instantly surrounded by armed Soviet soldiers. Indy initially refuses to say if he's been there before, prompting Colonel Antonin Dovchenko to punch him. When Indy refuses again, the colonel is about to strike him once more when Dr. Irina Spalko, a three-time winner of the Order of Lenin, steps out of one of the cars. Irina attempts to read Indiana's mind, but she remarks that his mind is difficult to read. As the group steps into Hangar 51, the same warehouse from the ending of the first film, Irina inquires if Jones knows where to find the crate they are searching for. Indiana asks for gunpowder, as the crate's contents are highly magnetized, and he uses it to help locate the box. After determining its general location, Jones uses broken shotgun shells to pinpoint the crate. When they finally find and open the crate, a humanoid figure wrapped in silver material is revealed. Spalko cuts through the silver wrapping, but before she can examine what's inside, Jones strikes a Russian soldier and takes his gun. Using his whip, he grabs another gun from a different soldier and hands it over to Mac. Threatening to shoot Spalko, Indy takes full control of the situation. But things quickly change when Mac turns his gun on his friend. Mac walks over to the Soviet side, and when Spalko asks if Jones has any defiant last words, Jones calmly responds with, "I like Ike," before tossing the gun to the floor, causing it to discharge and momentarily distract the Soviets. This gives Indiana the chance to escape. Spalko attempts to drive away with the crate, and Indy tries to swing onto her Jeep but misses, crashing through a truck's windshield. He mutters, "Damn, I thought that was closer," before knocking out the drivers, Jefferson and Grant. Now in control of the truck, he begins to ram into Spalko's vehicle. Indiana leaps onto her car, throws her out, and crashes into the corner of a wall of crates, causing the corner of the crate containing the Ark of the Covenant to shatter. Indy then crashes his Jeep into a car with Mac and Hoover inside and tries to flee, but an enraged Dovchenko attacks him. They crash through a skylight and land in an underground room with a rocket sled. The sled is activated when Dovchenko is kicked through a glass pane into a control room. A few Russians and Mac arrive to assist Dovchenko, but the sled powers up, incinerating several soldiers as Jones and Dovchenko are rocketed through a tunnel and out into the desert, still locked in combat on the sled. Meanwhile, Spalko gets into another car, picks up Mac, and congratulates him on a job well done. Indy manages to escape as the rocket sled leaves Dovchenko unconscious, but a squad of Russians quickly pursues him in a car. Stumbling through the desert, he finds a small town that appears to offer shelter, but soon discovers that it's completely deserted, with only mannequins scattered around. As a warning siren blares, Indy and the three pursuing Russians, Lincoln, Franklin, and Hoover, realize in horror that they've stumbled into a doomed town, set to be obliterated by a nuclear bomb. The Russians quickly retreat, jumping back into their car and speeding away from the town. Indy, however, seals himself inside a lead-lined refrigerator. Moments later, the bomb detonates, and doomed town is completely destroyed. The blast wave tears apart the Russians and their car, but the refrigerator containing Indy is propelled across the desert, protecting him from the deadly radiation. After surviving the explosion, Indy is found and taken into custody by the FBI, who accuse him of being a communist due to his association with George McHale. As soon as Jones gets back to the university, he is forced to take a temporary leave with his full salary, because the FBI searched his office in a rough way. His friend, Dean Charles Stanforth, had to resign from his job just to secure the deal that Jones received. Indiana sadly says that the last few years have been really hard for him because his father, Henry Jones Sr., and the museum director, Marcus Brody, have both died. Jones feels that there's no reason for him to stay at the university anymore, so he buys a train ticket to New York. Not long after he gets on the train, Mutt Williams approaches him and asks if he ever knew Harold Oxley. Mutt hands Indiana a letter from his mother, Mary Williams. Indy and Mutt talk about Oxley's troubles when two KGB agents try to grab them, but a fight between a greaser and a society breaks out, letting the archaeologist and his new partner escape. A short chase happens on the university campus, but it stops when one of the two Russian cars chasing them hits a statue of Marcus Brody, who has already passed away. After following a trail of hints hidden in a riddle written in an ancient, forgotten language by Oxley, Mutt and Indiana realize the skull must be in Nazca. They go to the mental hospital where Oxley was kept and find out that he had sketched a map to Oriana's cradle, which didn't refer to where he was born, but where he was buried. Oriana, a Spanish explorer, was thought to have been hunting for the skull before he disappeared without a trace. They travel through the tomb and manage to overcome 2 graveyard warriors, who were actually native tribesmen wearing skull masks. One dies when Jones shoots a poison dart into his throat just as he was about to attack, and the other runs away after being struck with a shovel, and when Jones warns he'll shoot him. While exploring a tomb, a large scorpion stings Mutt, but Indy reassures him, saying that with scorpions, the bigger they are, the less dangerous. The two press on, and eventually come across 7 mummified bodies at the bottom of the grave. They unwrap one, and the corpse quickly crumbles to dust after being exposed to the air. The mummy's wrappings had kept it preserved for centuries. Mutt and Indy then notice that another mummy has already been opened. Jones picks up some gold coins, but they suddenly fly toward the wrapped corpse. Mutt is handed the armored body of Francisco de Oriana to hold, while Indy searches the bandages for the crystal skull. Once he finds it, Mutt's sword is instantly pulled toward the skull. Both are puzzled, since neither gold nor crystal should be magnetic. When they leave the tomb, they are ambushed by Soviet soldiers, including Mack, Dovchenko, and Irina. Jones and Williams are then taken to a Soviet camp hidden deep in the jungle.